Moses was afraid when he went to war against Og. From this follows the question, if someone unintentionally does a mitzvah, for example, he loses money from which a poor person benefits, does this account as a mitzvah or doesn't it?
Interesting question. In general, I can just speak in general. We have an idea that the commandments we do, we should have kavanah, we should have intention. And so let's take the reverse, for example. Let's say someone sins unintentionally, right? Let's say someone, they eat something and they were completely unaware that it was prohibited for them to eat that. Is that sinful? So, not really. Now, you could argue maybe they should have been more careful, but you can't say that if it was a situation where they literally could not have prevented this, even if they were as careful as possible. So when you have something that happens totally accidentally, this is in the Talmud, they say, ones rachmana patre. When someone does something be'ones means not unintentional. Unintentional, there's a degree of culpability because the person could have been more careful. For example, if a Jewish person cooks on the Sabbath and they didn't know that it was prohibited to cook, well, they should have known that. Or they didn't know that it was Saturday, they thought it was Sunday. Well, they should have known it was Shabbat, right? That's considered ones. That's considered shogeg. Shogeg means it was unintentional. But really, there's a degree of culpability. But then there's something called ones, which is that it's completely beyond the person's control. So, for example, if someone puts a gun to your head and says, you have to cook these eggs for me on Shabbat or I'll kill you, so there you're not in control at all. Totally, there's no responsibility on your part. Or if something happens completely by accident, let's say, for example, on Shabbat, Jews will not use electricity. So let's say someone trips in their living room and they go flying across the living room and they turn on a light. So that's not ignorance. That was just total accident. So when it's a total accident, the halacha, the Torah law says, ones rachmana patre, you're completely not responsible. So if it works like that when it comes to transgressions, so I think that it works the same way when it comes to performing mitzvot, meaning that if someone loses their wallet and a poor person finds it and keeps it, well, that person might be sinning because they should try to return it. But in any event, but let's say you don't drop a wallet. Let's say you drop, a stack of bills. You drop a couple of, $100 bills. There's no way of identifying it. So in a case where there's no way of identifying it, that anyone that finds it, they may not have to try to return it to you. But have you done anything that's praiseworthy? Have you fulfilled a mitzvah? I think it would be hard to say that. It would be hard to say that. Now, what you could say, I'm just thinking out loud, if you want to be very mystical about it, is that we don't believe that anything is an accident in this world. And if Hashem arranged things so that you would somehow lose your money would fall out of your pocket, so maybe there's some good that was intended to come out of your action, but I don't think anyone should pat themselves on the back. So whether or not they get credit for performing a mitzvah, to me, it's questionable. But I think that the general principle is that when we do a mitzvah, any positive action, we should have consciousness. We should have awareness. We should know what we're doing, and we should do it with that kind of awareness and consciousness.